You ever find yourself just scrolling through your feed, or maybe you're talking to an AI chatbot, and you get this weird feeling. A sense that in our big rush to build these thinking machines, we might be forgetting something really, really important about ourselves. Well, you are definitely not alone. And this anxiety, this feeling about AI, it seems so modern, right? So 21st century. But what if I told you that a philosopher saw this whole thing coming, long before anyone even wrote the first line of code for the AI we use today?
So let's just let that sink in for a second. This question, this is the absolute heart of what we're talking about today. It just flips that classic sci-fi story right on its head. See, the real fear might not be some kind of robot uprising. No, it's something way quieter. It's an internal surrender, a world where our own ability for deep, creative, messy thought just kind of fades to black.
And the guy who put this problem into words decades and decades ago, he wasn't a programmer, he wasn't a tech CEO, he was a German philosopher named Martin Heidegger, and his critique of technology is so sharp, so on point, it honestly feels like it could have been written this morning. It gives us this incredible lens to understand that digital unease that I think we all feel from time to time.
Okay, so for Heidegger, the problem isn't your phone or a specific app or any single gadget. No, it's way, way deeper than that. He argued that modern technology isn't just a box of tools. It's a whole way of seeing the world. And that specific way of seeing, well, that's where the ultimate danger lies. He had a special word for this worldview, Gestell, which basically translates to inframing. Just think of it like a mindset. When you're inframed, you look at a forest and you don't see a place of wonder or mystery. You see lumber. You look at a river and you see potential kilowatts of energy. Everything, and here's the scary part, even everyone becomes what he called a standing reserve. Just sitting there, waiting to be used, measured, and made more efficient. Yeah, this metaphor of putting on glasses is perfect. Because once you're wearing these end-framing glasses, it's almost impossible to take them off. You just start applying that logic to, well, everything. And AI and big data are probably the ultimate expression of this, right? I mean, their entire purpose is to take the beautiful mess of human life and turn it into data that can be calculated, predicted, and optimized. So if this worldview starts to take over, what's the first thing to go? Well, it attacks the very way we think. Our minds, which are supposed to be this vast, open field of possibility, start to get funneled into a single, narrow lane.
And boom, we're right back to that core warning. The biggest risk of this whole end-framing thing isn't that AI is going to get as smart as us. It's that we will reduce our own thinking down to the level of a machine. Just pure, simple calculation.
And you have to understand this distinction. It is so important. Over here on the left, you've got genuine thinking. It's all about wonder, right? It asks big questions. It's okay with being confused and perplexed. But then on the right, you have calculation, and that's all about solving problems, processing info, and just finding the most efficient answer. Our technology is an absolute genius at calculation, but it can't wonder. And the danger is that we start to believe that calculation is the only kind of thinking that's really worth anything.
Okay, so first, our thinking gets squeezed down into calculation. What's next on the chopping block? Our language. Heidegger saw language as something almost holy. He called it the house of being, the very place where our world is built. But this technological worldview, this inframing, it comes for that too. I mean, wow. This quote just nails it. In the age of AI, language stops being this home that we live inside of, and it just becomes raw material, a data set to be processed. Words become tokens, sentences become these statistical patterns. And in that whole process, the deep, soulful meaning of language, it just starts to disappear. It withdraws. And the stakes here are just huge. On one side, you have language as this house of being. It actually reveals a world to us. It gathers meaning. Think about a powerful poem or even the meaning in a comfortable silence between two people. But on the other side, it's just the chattering of information, raw data, signals, patterns. And let's be real, large language models are the undisputed world champions of this chatter. They operate completely on the right side of this chart. They can generate endless information, but can they ever truly speak?
So, our thinking gets turned into calculation. Our language gets turned into information. What's the final and maybe the most profound consequence of all this? Well, it's that we risk losing our connection to the actual, real, grounded world entirely.
Man, just take a second with that one. An omnipresence that is a universal absence. Doesn't that just perfectly describe modern life? Through our screens, yeah, we can be anywhere, we can talk to anyone. But in doing that, do we lose the feeling of actually being somewhere? This constant digital presence can create this deep, profound absence from our own lives, our own bodies, our own place in the world. This slide really breaks it down. Dwelling is about truly inhabiting a place, being present in a way that connects you to everything around you. Heidegger had this beautiful phrase for it, gathering earth and sky. But using is about total availability, consuming experiences like they're just another resource. And it leads to a world of simulations like virtual reality, a copy that might not even have an original. Okay, so this is all sounding pretty depressing, I get it. A world where we don't really think, we don't really speak, we don't really dwell anymore. But this is where Heidegger's whole argument takes this incredible, hopeful turn. He doesn't just leave us in the dark. This right here is the crucial move. For Heidegger, we don't find the answer by running away from the danger. We find it by looking straight into it. The problem itself holds the key to its own solution. It's almost like the sheer intensity of our technological world might be the one thing that can finally wake us up and make us see what we're about to lose. And this brings us to the home stretch, the way forward. How in the world do we find this saving power that's supposedly hiding inside the danger of technology? Well, it's not about rejecting technology. It's about developing a whole new relationship to it. And the key word for this is Gelassenheit. It's a tricky word, but you can think of it as releasement, or a kind of letting be. It means we can use our smartphones, we can use our AI tools, but we don't let their logic, that logic of enframing, of constant optimization, we don't let that define our entire reality. It's about saying yes to the tool, but saying a firm no to its worldview taking over our souls.
So how do we actually do this? How do we practice this releasement? Well, the philosophy points us down a few paths. First, actively seek out silence in an age that is just screaming with noise. Second, pay attention to things as they are. Let a tree just be a tree, not potential lumber. Third, try to speak authentically. Try to reveal meaning, not just pass along data. And finally, remember that we're mortal. Our time here is finite, and that's what gives life its weight and its beauty. A truth that the endless technological drive for perfection tries really hard to make us forget.
And really, this is the whole thing in a nutshell. This is not a call to go smash our computers. The real challenge isn't out there, it's in here. It's about consciously choosing to nurture these other ways of being, thinking, speaking, dwelling, that technology by itself can never give us, and, in fact, might even hide from us. It's about saving a space for what makes us human. So as we wrap this up, this whole idea just throws these huge questions right back in our faces. In a world with super powerful AI, we have to ask ourselves, all over again, what really is thinking if it's more than just calculation? And what is language really if it isn't just about processing information? When we have a real conversation with someone, what is actually happening in that magic space between us? Which, of course, all leads to the biggest question of them all. What does it mean to be human when so many of the things we thought made us special can now be simulated by a machine? What's left that is truly, uniquely ours? And that's the final thought I want to leave you with. Our tech is built to give us instant answers to solve every problem. But maybe, just maybe, the saving power we're all looking for isn't in finding more answers. Maybe it's in getting back our ability to just dwell in the big, open, beautiful space of the question itself, to just wonder again. Thanks for exploring all this with me.